everybody, and welcome back to Las Colinas, Texas, here to the Ritz-Carlton. It is great to be with you for our final 2024 NFL owners meeting report. It's been what I thought was a very productive owners meetings from my standpoint. The league, I don't think that maybe this is their most busiest owners meetings of those that they have, and they have multiple a year. I think it's been very productive. Had a chance to talk to a lot of people, and we're going to break into a lot of different issues today. We're going to talk about a couple of 2025 NFL draft quarterbacks. I got some interesting observations. I got some more on some other guys, but I don't think it's enough information to disseminate. I want to talk to some other people and get some of their feedback as well. But of course, that'll be coming now more fast and furious. And we're going to get into some Raiders on the field now information and a lot more. First, I want to address the issue. Obviously, we've reported on it. People know about Charles Snowden and about his legal issues. I've had several people ask me about it. Now, I want you to know I am not a person that uh, takes driving under the influence or anything to do in that realm of stuff lightly, but I do not have enough information at this point to comment. And I know for a fact of situations in the past where people rushed to judgment. And because I've been embedded here, I don't have enough information. I'm going to get it. I will tell you, however, for an NFL player, and I want to reiterate, have to find out the details. But speaking in generalities, not necessarily about this situation, there is literally zero excuse for this to happen with access to Uber and Lyft and all that these guys have at their disposal. It is literally, there's no excuse, none. But again, I'm speaking in generalities because I know of times, I know of a Raider player one time that got in trouble and all they did was sit in their car. They didn't go anywhere. Um, and so I want to be careful because uh, this young man deserves to have his situation reported on accurately. And I'm going to get on that. I'll get the information and get to you momentarily. Not today, but momentarily. So it's not me sweeping anything under the rug or pretending anything didn't happen. It's me trying to be honorable towards you, and that when I discuss an issue, to have enough information on it to speak definitively. And it's also, in fairness to the player, if we're going to comment, whether it's about their play on the field or their actions off the field, they at least deserve us to spend the time to figure out what happened and then address it. So I would anticipate that coming on Monday, that I would address it, and I'll get all that to you. But not sweeping anything under the rug. It's just I've been so embedded on stuff here. I mean, I saw the report, we reported on it, but I have not gathered information, and I will. So please bear with me on that. Again, sweeping nothing under the rug, just wanting to make sure, out of fairness to the player and to you, and to my employer, that I report on it diligently and factually. Next, I want to also address Merry Christmas to all of you. I hope that you're enjoying this beautiful season, whether you are in the cool weather of Texas or the frozen weather of the north or the warmer weather of southern places than where I find myself. Wherever you're at or anywhere around the world, I hope you're enjoying this beautiful time of year. It's fun. I hope you get to be with some family. All right, I want to get into Aiden O'Connell. A lot of people asking me, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? I'm going to tell you this. Based on what I am hearing, I think that I am based on what I'm hearing, I think there's a better chance that he probably plays than he doesn't, but I don't think anything at this moment is definitive. He's got, till Monday. So we're sitting here today. There's still Friday. There's still Saturday. There's still Sunday. There's still days to get treatment. But I believe that is the push. Not, I mean, you use the word push. I think that is what the hopeful expectation is. So if I would have to say, yes, I think he will, but that is not in any word definitive. But I've had several people email me and ask, the fact that they're even thinking about bringing Aiden out, does that mean they have no faith in Desmond? And I thought that was a very fair in Desmond Ritter. I thought that was a very fair email, and I can certainly understand how people would tie those together. I think there are a couple issues here. I think they know what they have in Desmond. I think there is a lot of, I would not use the word angst, but I would say I think there's a lot of still unknowns with Aiden. When you watch how, he's played in the past, the fact that he did go backwards this year, but so did Gardner Minshew under the previous offensive leadership. I think I would not say angst, but I would say there is some consternation about getting as many reps as they can for Aiden O'Connell. I think as they look at the situation, Desmond Ritter may be part of this team next year, may. Um, but I think they look at Aiden, even with a young quarterback in the draft and a veteran, still as part of this organization. They still got him under a great rookie deal. He's not expensive. He knows the system. He knows the people. Aiden has endeared himself to that locker room. He's endeared himself to the people in the organization. So I don't think it's an hard pass that Desmond isn't here next year. I think it's probably less likely than likely, but still the situation as it sits right now, I think that's it's not necessarily a statement against Desmond. I just think it's a statement probably pro Aiden O'Connell. That's how that works out. All right, next I want to talk about um, a lot of people wanting to talk about Tom Brady, and I don't blame you. This Tom Brady is the biggest dispensational shift in this organization. Um, I would say um, probably since the hiring of John Gruden. I was going to say since Mark Davis took over, but when Mark Davis hired John Gruden, he gave John complete and total authority for football. I thought it fascinating. I asked an NFL person, what are your thoughts on Brady and with how much do you think he's going to have? Um, I need to put it this way: Mark Davis made it very open to Fox that as long as Tom was doing the TV Fox gig, he would not interfere with Fox and let Tom prioritize that. I have said to you on multiple occasions, going back to when they wanted Tom Brady to come be the quarterback here. Tom was on his way when they moved on from Derek, but some things happened that I don't need to get into. Nothing bad that Tom did, nothing bad that the Raiders did. That was just something uncontrollable that Tom ended up not being here. Then they had already made the decision to move on from Derek. And then that's when they kind of got stuck with Jimmy Garoppolo. I bad times for the Raiders. But when he gave and ceded control of all football to John Gruden, uh, I think that was a massive shift. Then you turn and, you know, I think Josh McDaniels was given a lot of authority, not like John. I think yes, he was over football, but I think you saw with how quick Mark Davis's trigger was, even though he was over football, I think Mark was um, uh, much more involved. It's not that he wasn't involved with John Gruden. I'm not implying that, but there was a great trust between Mark Davis and John Gruden. And you know this, if you have an employee that's worked for you for a long time and or maybe, you're a manager, maybe you don't own the company, but you're a manager and you have an employee that's worked for you a long time. It's one thing to not even you're very cognizant of what they do, but you're not as involved maybe as a brand new one, making sure it was done right. I think Mark took that approach with Josh McDaniels and not like he did with Gruden. I think there is complete and total trust with Mark and Tom Brady and Richard Seymour. Number one. Number two, I think it's just not that. I think Mark's going to be very involved, but I think he's going to be very involved because he's excited about the future. It's not very involved because he's nervous. It's going to be because he's excited. That's a big difference, a very big difference. And so, how big of a voice do I think Tom's going to have? As long as he's doing Fox, I think he's going to have a massive voice. Mark Davis used the words the other day, huge. And by the way, if you didn't listen to Mark's presser, make sure that you do that. However, until he's done with Fox, even though I think he's going to have a huge voice, until he's done with Fox, I don't think it will be the only voice. Now, do I think Mark Davis would make his opinion known to Tom Brady? Yes, 100%. Mark is extremely genuine, and if he feels something, he's going to speak it. I have never known Mark Davis in any situation to be disingenuous. I've never known Mark Davis in any moment to be hesitant to give an opinion. Maybe sometimes um, there may be things he doesn't want to talk about, on the record, or things he doesn't want to talk, because all of us are that way. Look at me just starting the podcast off today talking about Snowden. There were some things I don't want to say because I want to get information. I think Mark is calculated like that. But Mark is never going to hesitate to look at Tom. I disagree. I don't like this, whatever. I think once Tom is done with Fox, and I have said this to you on numerous occasions, I believe he's probably going to do 25, 26, 27, 28. For me personally, I am not anticipating until either 29 or 30, but probably 29, but could be 30. Tom, whenever that football time is over, that broadcasting time is over, I would expect Tom Brady to have uh, the largest voice and to be able to do boom, boom, boom. This is what we're doing. I think now it'll be, hey, this is what I want to do. Mark would be like, yeah, great. But after he's done with broadcasting, then I think he'll be making his call. Mark Davis the other day made a comment when he was talking to the media that I thought was very enlightening. He talked about he lets his football guys do their job, and he does. And you know this. You can be critical of some of the people that he's trusted to do the football job. That's very fair criticism, and I think Mark Davis would agree with you, by the way. That's what I mean. He's not disingenuous. He's not there worried about his ego defending every decision he's made. I think he'd tell you, yeah, that was a mistake. Again, I have found him to be nothing short of genuine. But one thing he does is if he hires you, he lets you do your job until proven that you're not doing your job. Now, there are some, I am not of this group, but there are some who felt like Gruden and Mayock were terrible. Okay. I think they made a lot of bad draft picks. I think they made some really good ones too, but they made some really bad draft picks. But Mark still trusted them. And let me just say something. Every GM, every leader of a franchise makes bad picks. That is the nature of this business. You just want more to be good than bad. And that's where this sits right now. So I am anticipatory that until Tom is done with television, he is going to have a huge voice. I believe his voice will be followed. And then once he's done with football, I think he's going to be the voice. Now, this is important. And you may say, why is this important to me as a fan? Uh, Tom Brady's uh, is not running over Mark Davis. I've had a lot of people say Tom Brady's just going to come in and run him over. And then you don't know Mark Davis. That's not how Mark operates. I was told this week, I asked several people, explain Mark Davis to me because I'm working on a Mark Davis article. I said, we're actually going to do a deep dive into Mark. And, because I think the way he has progressed, the way he has grown as an owner, I think fans deserve to see it. And I had one NFL owner say to me that he believes Mark has really grown as far as a listener. And I thought that was fascinating. So I said to him, "You don't think Mark's been a good listener?" He goes, "No, I think he listened." And he goes, "I'll tell you this." I said, "All right." He said, "When I was an owner and I would first hear medical people talk," he said, "I heard what they were saying, but I have no background in the medical field. I didn't understand it. But now that I've been an owner for a while and I've been around football, a lot of the injuries are pretty much the same. Now, if a medical person explains to me an injury, even though I'm not a doctor, I'm not even a nurse or a nurse practitioner, but now that I've been around, at least I understand." I think he used the term what a hematoma is. He goes, I get those things. So now I may listen, but now I hear. And they really talked about Mark's ability to listen and hear. Um, I had another owner say to me that Mark has never gone into something unless he already had previous information with his mind made up. That when there's discussion, Mark listens. And I will tell you this, Mark has really garnered a lot of respect around the league um, as a voice of common sense and reasoning. And inside those NFL owners meetings, um, they all have respect for each other because they're all billionaires and they've all are owners of professional franchises. But you can have professional respect and personal respect. And there is not one person in this league that I have talked to about where Mark Davis is today that has not um, reflected not only professional respect but personal respect for him. I don't have my notes here, but this is a paraphrase. But basically, one of the owners said to me, "Mark is one of those guys that if you're going in and there's going to be an issue that's up for debate, he's a vote that's available on every subject because Mark will listen." And the owner said, "If you have a good case, Mark is a listener." I thought that was um, really fascinating to me, just listening to how he's developed as an owner. So I don't want anyone to think that there is a misconception that Tom Brady's coming in and running over anything, but Mark trusts him. And I think that he's going to be given that voice um, because Mark does trust him. And especially when he's done with Fox, I think he will be the definitive voice, but because Mark lets him have it, lets him have that voice. I will say there's been several people asking me, uh, Mark Davis has not sold any of his control of the team. He is 100% still in control. Okay. Now, um, I'm going to tell you about a quarterback here who is rising up the ranks. Um, I want to make it very clear that I have not done enough research. I have not done enough research to comment on where he's going to go in the draft. I've told you all that, now that the Raiders are out of it, I anticipate right after the first of the year, I'm going to start digging in on all the quarterbacks. I'm going to be starting to talk, but I did start talking to people at these owners' meetings. Now, these aren't the people who are going to give me definitive. Some of them are, but aren't going because I want to hear from personnel people. I want to hear from GMs. And this meeting, while there were several, there were not a ton of them there. One name, though, that I kept hearing was Dylan Gabriel at Oregon. No one said to me, he's the number one guy, whatever. But I asked several people, is there a Jayden Daniels in this? A guy that maybe during the season people didn't have at the top, but by the time the season ended and you went through the pro days and combine, somebody who rose to the top. And every single person I asked that to mentioned Dylan Gabriel as a potential there. None of them said he was, but yeah, I think he does. I had one particular person say to me, he intrigues me. He intrigues me. Matter of fact, he said, I'm going to give him a long look. And I said, okay, great. And he says, get back with me. He said, but I'm going to give him a long look. So it's interesting to see where Dylan Gabriel ends up in this process. I think one thing you're noticing with NFL people is they love competitive nature. They love guys who go out and do it. We've all seen people who look like Tarzan and tough and strong and big, can't play the game of football. Then you see guys that maybe don't have all of the God-given skills, but man, they've got heart. They just got heart and they just make plays. Now, Jayden Daniels, everybody last year talked about that with him. The only drawback was his size. That was the only drawback with Jayden Daniels was just the way he plays. No one felt like he can sustain that in the NFL. Now, to his credit, early on, you saw with Jayden Daniels, you know, he took a beating and he did really well for a while, but got injured. And I think you're seeing him now understanding and trying to go through the metamorphosis. But I thought it was very interesting about Dylan Gabriel. We have not put his name on the map. As we've only really talked about Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. But Dylan Gabriel now is a guy that I'm going to be after the first of the year really digging in hard on. Going to be digging in really hard on him and really hard on a couple others. Now, there are a couple others whose name were brought out to me that I'm going to dig on, but they weren't brought out by everybody, so I'm not going to put them here on the table right now. But I am going to continue. So there are some interesting prospects. I've stated to you before, no one felt like 25 class was as good as 24. That makes sense to me. That's understandable. So again, that's where that sits. Now, I do want to tell you there was one quarterback conversation here that I heard from enough people that I totally believe it. And that's the New York Giants want Cam Ward. Everybody talked about it. One particular guy, I sent him, what are your thoughts on quarterback class? He goes, well, I think if I'm Mark Davis and I want Shedeur, I'm pretty excited about New York. And I said, why? He goes, because they are all in on Cam Ward. I said, oh, okay. And so the first time I heard it, I didn't really say anything. And then I just kept hearing it. Now, someone told me, and I have not seen it because I've been so focused in here that that's already been reported somewhere. So if that is, I good for them. That's really good reporting. I don't know who did it, but that is, if that has been reported, I can confirm that that was the talk here. I think everybody knew there was a lot of love for Cam Ward. I will tell you something interesting though. I was talking to someone that has a proven track record of success with quarterbacks, drafting them, developing them, and all that. And they're here at the meetings. And I said to them, you know, give me your thoughts on Shedeur. And they gave me they said preliminary, haven't done enough, but this is my early thought process. I said, okay. And he grabbed my forearm. He says, but wait a minute. I said, what? He said, I think Shedeur's a really good player. He goes, I don't know enough yet. He goes, I couldn't tell you how we got him ranked. He goes, I don't even know how we have him ranked. He said, but that Cam Ward, he goes, he's an interesting guy too. And he gave me a name of an NFL player. And I want to talk to a couple others before I present it to you about who he reminded him. But he goes, I think this is a sneaky pick right here. And I said, all right. He goes, when I watch him play, and he goes, I'm not watching coaches' film, just watching games. He goes, you can tell his football IQ. And I just thought that. So I'm throwing that out there to you. I think that's very, very fascinating. I asked several people about Shedeur, about it's very common knowledge that he would like to be a Raider. Um, and it was just interesting to me to hear from people that is what they all anticipate too. Um, and I had one guy I asked, I said, what do you think of Shedeur and the Raiders? And he goes, man, he goes, I think there's a lot of mutual love there. And then he said something. He goes, but remember, there's a lot of circumstantial evidence of it, but you don't win cases on circumstantial evidence. And I asked him to elaborate. And he said, well, you don't win court cases with circumstantial evidence, which is true. He said, but are you really telling me if somebody gets ahead of the Raiders and picks Shedeur that he's going to turn all that money down? He may want to go to the Raiders. And I said, all right. And then he said something I thought was really good. He said, Deion gets a lot of unfair criticism because he is a very active father and he is a very big piece. He says, but people make the mistake of thinking Deion is stupid, and he's not. And I agree with that, by the way. I have told you on several occasions, while I do not consider Deion a friend, um, I have been around him away from football on 4 or 5 occasions and gotten to spend pretty good amount of time with him. I have found him to be very genuine. You may not like Deion Sanders, but Deion Sanders is not fake. I can tell you from being with him in some private situations, what you see on Deion is what you get with Deion. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think Deion, because isn't it amazing? We clamor and want guys to be fathers, and then you get a guy who is a father and he's very active and involved in his children's life, as I am. And he's going to try to micromanage Shedeur. That's not going to happen. I can tell you, if he was micromanaging Shedeur, I don't think Shedeur would be driving a Maybach. Just going to give you that opinion based on some other things. But you know what? That's not the way that Deion is. But how do you blame a dad for looking out for his son, wanting him to go to a good franchise that he thinks will develop him? I think Deion is very aware that Shedeur can do some really special things. I also think Deion is aware that Shedeur has to grow in some areas. So he wants him to go someplace that can develop him as a quarterback. How is that wrong? My son, Shane, is a sophomore in college, and I wanted him to go to a school that could develop the talents that God's given him and the desires in his heart of what he wants to do. I don't think that's Deion being. I don't understand this criticism. I don't understand it of Deion. If you don't like Deion, great. If you don't like the sunglasses, great. If you don't like the, I've got my luggage and it's Louis. Okay, let me just say this. Every coach feels that way. It's just some are more vocal, some are sneaky. I don't think there's a sneaky bone in Deion's body. I think Deion does exactly what Deion thinks he needs to do. And if you don't like it, okay, God bless you. Not mad at you. Just Okay. Would I have done the Louis thing? No. But just because I wouldn't do it doesn't make it wrong. And I said at the time when he did it, it's total Deion move. And he's making it clear to guys, hey, I'm coming in here. There's a reason I'm here. You're the worst college football franchise. And oh, by the way, they're in a bowl game this year. And give the guy credit. He's got the top quarterback to transfer in the portal coming in. So I don't have the issues with Deion that others do. I've had people email me and ask about um, I think they called it the entourage or the posse with Shedeur. And I've told you, I've talked to people that are very close to the situation. They had no idea what they were talking about. Are him and Travis Hunter great friends? Absolutely. Is he close to Shiloh? Uh-huh. Is he close to his dad? Yeah. Well, I'm very close to my sons. I hang around. I literally got a text from one of my son's friends the other day. Does that mean I'm part of his posse? So I don't get that. I don't get that. I think Shedeur is a guy that loves the game, has fun with the game. I have no idea if Shedeur is the best quarterback in this draft, and I have no idea if he's the answer for the Raiders. I have not spent enough time. But I'm going to tell you, I don't get all the criticism. It literally makes no sense to me. And everybody I know who knows Shedeur, and I know a lot of people, and I mean, I don't mean they know him as in cover him. I mean, I know people at the University of Colorado who are there, who know him, who've told me, great kid. I had one person tell me, Hondo, I know the respect you have for Deion. You would love Shedeur. So I don't understand all that criticism of Shedeur. If it's football criticism, I got no issue with that. None. I remember a few years ago, there was a quarterback that came in the league and everyone was talking about him. And all this is a camp, man. I remember everything I heard privately was this is not a good situation here. Okay, but things on the surface weren't always what you see. So I would just tell everyone tap the brakes on Shedeur a little bit. I think he's a very talented guy. I have no idea if he's the best quarterback in this draft. I have no idea if he's an answer at quarterback. I literally don't have an answer. I will, but I don't. But the things I hear him criticized for are just stupid. It just doesn't make sense to me. Are you mad at him because he has a huge NIL deal? Well, then I think you need to ask yourself why are you mad about somebody else prospering? I rejoice when people prosper. I love it when people succeed. I love it. Doesn't bother me in the least bit. I remember one time Paul Gutierrez of ESPN had a really great story. And by the way, I really like Paul a lot. He is a good guy. And I told him, I said, man, that was a great article. Great job. I remember one time Tashawn Reed had from the Athletic, good guy, by the way. I really like Tashawn. And I'm not going to mention everybody, but there's quite frankly nobody on the beat I don't like. But Tashawn had an article and I had a family member send it to me. And I told Tashawn, I said, man, this was a really good job. And even told him a family member sent it to me. That doesn't bother me. I think I do my very best covering the Raiders. I think that I give you great information. I'm constantly wanting to get better, but I don't decrease because others succeed. We just keep raising the water level, and all boats rise when the current rises. And so sometimes I think people just get mad at people because they prosper and succeed. Don't be that way. And so you know what? I'm glad that Shedeur has gotten a big NIL deal, and I'm glad he's been able to do whatever. I wouldn't want a Maybach, but I'm a truck guy. Okay, but I don't fault him for that. Don't be that way. And if you don't like Shedeur Sanders because of his success monetarily in college, well, that's a you problem. That's not a Shedeur problem. So, anyways, that's when I heard about Shedeur, and I wanted to get to you about Cam Ward. All right, lastly, oh my goodness, we're 35 minutes. I got to hurry. I want to talk to you about. I've had several Raider fans ask me, why should I even be paying attention to the Raiders now. They're 2-11, other than just looking at the final score if they lose. And I think that's a very fair question. But it's one I want to dig into you on because I think there's some really good information here. It is imperative, if you're a Raider fan and you're looking for stuff to watch, these young players developing. Look at Caleb. Look at Sincere. Look at DJ Glaze, DeCamerion Richardson. Now, I think everybody knew Brock Bowers and JPJ were going to play. Okay, you knew that. That was no secret. But outside of those two, I don't think there was a gimme on other guys. It was, hey, let's wait and see how they develop. But a lot of guys are getting a lot of reps right now. And if you're looking for anything to be watching, I'd be watching player development. I got an email from somebody the other day. Man, I wish I had it. I'd read it to you. It was borderline just ignorant. DeCamerion Richardson sucks. He's terrible. He should never be playing. What a wasted pick. I literally, it was so funny. I literally thought maybe this came from the Babylon Bee or what was the other one? I think the other one was called The Onion, but these satirical sites. Are you kidding me? DeCamerion Richardson has made some really big rookie mistakes because that's what rookies do. I think he has shown that he has potential to be something. And I've enjoyed watching DCAM. One thing I really like about that kid, you watch him, when you're watching the game on Monday night, you see him make a mistake, and he will. He's a rookie. He will. Watch what he does the next play. Man, he's up in there and he's ready to go. Yeah! I mean, I love that. I love that. Ain't going to keep him down. I love that about him. So I think there's a lot of things to be watching. I think there are a lot of things to be paying attention to. I think there are a lot of things of which you could take good interest in and be in a good spot. So there you go. I think that's, last from here at the meetings. I thought they were really good. A lot of good stuff. I'm looking forward to being back at the owners' meetings in March for a couple of other reasons. But we're going to have a lot between now and the end to really hammer in. Going to be a lot of interesting times. I'm going to tell you this, Raider Nation. If I was, if you were to say to me, Hondo, predict the offseason for the Raiders, I would tell you there's going to be change. But this is what I mean by change. If you've ever sailed, you know that if you are only a tenth of a degree off, you maybe can't notice that early in the process. But the farther out you go, the more of a separation you find. And what I would say to you is this: I think under Tom Brady now, you're going to see the Raidership change. I think you're going to see it moving now towards, the joy is in winning. That's Tom Brady. Tom Brady is a winner. He finds joy in his life winning. And I think that is going to be the new shift. I think the Raiders have talked about it, and I don't think they lied, but I didn't think they knew how to be about it. Tom Brady understands what he doesn't know, but he also knows there's one destination, it's Super Bowl championships. So if he doesn't know, he's going to get people for the Raiders who do, and every area of this franchise is going to be gone through with a fine-tooth comb to figure out, is this part of the franchise championship level? Now, he may go through and find out, you know what? 99% of the people here are. We just have to change a mindset. Great. I'm not predicting mass firings or layoffs. I'm just telling you it's going to be a mass consternation towards championship. And it's going to be fascinating. It's going to be fascinating. And we'll get into a lot more on that, especially I'm going to have a lot on next week, a lot on next week, because I'm going to be able to follow up on a lot of the things I've learned this week and get some more information from you. So thanks for joining me. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Of course, we'll be back here Saturday and Sunday. And don't forget Monday Night Football. This is a travel day for me. Talk to y'all soon.